Yeah, I could not take Cold War anymore. I literally had to go back to a game that a year ago I said was the worst game ever made. I don't know, man. Call of Duty just isn't hitting the same like it used to. But anyways, let's get into the story today. I was a really messed up kid. I cannot even count the amount of fights I got into in elementary school over like handball, foursquare, kickball, and soccer alone. But before we get into it, if you've never seen my channel before, basically I talk about a story or topic while I'm playing whatever game I'm playing that day. And this story is about how I was the king of Foursquare and about all of the fights that I got into over Foursquare. Okay, first off, if you've been living under a rock your entire life and somehow have no idea what Foursquare is, first off, I'm just sorry you did not have a childhood. But let me explain Foursquare before I talk about all the fights I got into over it. So Foursquare is basically like a 4-person tennis game, but instead of like a racket and a tennis ball, you use your hands in one of those like jelly ball things. Basically nothing like tennis. So basically, there's 4 squares and each person has their own square. And when someone gets out, either by hitting the ball out of bounds or like having the ball bounce twice in their own square, everyone rotates counterclockwise. This is definitely making no sense to people. Let me try to explain this with like a diagram. So like if I was on square 2 and the person in square 3 got out, I would move to square 3, the person in square 1 would move to square 2, a new person would come into square 1, and the person in square 4 would stay in square 4. And so the whole point of this game is to get into square 4, and we called whoever got into square 4 the king. You already know I was in square 4 all the fucking time. I mean, back in 3rd grade, people didn't even call me by my name anymore. Everyone just called me king. I mean, the students called me king, the supervisors called me king, even my own teachers called me king. Like, I'd just be walking around the campus and people would be like, "Hey, what's up, king?" That's probably why my ego is still so fucking big. Now, you have to understand this. Back in 3rd grade, Foursquare, handball, and tetherball were the most important things in my entire life. I mean, that's what I thought about when I woke up, when I went to sleep, when I was doing homework, when I was in school. That's what I thought about every second of the day, because 3rd graders weren't allowed to play basketball or soccer. Technically, they were allowed to play basketball and soccer, but basketball and soccer was a 4th and 5th grade thing. And if you were a 3rd grader and tried to play basketball or soccer with the 4th or 5th graders, you were definitely getting your ass beat. Like, I remember this one time, this absolutely clueless 3rd grader tried to play soccer with the 4th and 5th graders, and before he even touched the ball one time, like 10 4th and 5th graders jumped him like he was a Crip walking into like 50 Bloods. I mean, seriously, this kid was swallowed whole by these 4th and 5th graders, and they just beat the shit out of him. He got jumped from every angle, every side, and trust me, that was the last time he ever tried to play soccer with them. And look, even though in 3rd grade I had an ego the size of Lizzo, I never once in 3rd grade tried to pick a fight with the 4th or 5th grader. I mean, that's just fucking suicide. Back then, those 4th and 5th graders looked like Mike Tyson and Conor McGregor. So the only options we had in 3rd grade were tetherball, handball, or Foursquare. And I played Foursquare because tetherball was for girls and simps, and handball was for people who weren't good enough to play Foursquare. These games were taken so fucking seriously at my school that we literally had arranged marriages. Listen, it'll all make sense, I promise, okay? Just let me explain. So because I was the king of Foursquare, I couldn't just be with any girl. I had to be with the queen of tetherball. So whatever girl was the best at tetherball at that time, I had to be with. Like, it would have been a crime if I tried to get with one of the peasant girls at my school. Listen, this shit's funny now, but it was also so fucked up. I remember this one time this girl was queen of tetherball for a while, and I mean, she liked me so much. Like, she would always try and eat lunch with me and talk to me and all that elementary school relationship bullshit. Like, she fucking loved this whole thing of her being the queen of tetherball and me being the king of Foursquare, and she thought I really liked her too. Come on, you really think the king of Foursquare could have feelings for anyone? Get out of here, I ain't no simp. If my girlfriend's watching this, I'm sorry. The only reason I even talked to this girl was because she was the queen of tetherball and I had to have a relationship with her. And I remember this one day, this other girl actually beat her at tetherball and became the new queen of tetherball. And I remember this girl came up to me crying, saying, "Please don't leave me, please don't, I'll do anything." And I put my hand on her shoulder and I was like, "Aw, don't worry, you can take the throne back one day." The next day, that girl had to literally stare at me eating lunch with the new queen. Listen, I told you I was a fucked up kid, okay? But anyways, being the king wasn't good enough for me anymore. I needed more. I wanted to be remembered in the history books. I wanted every 3rd grader that came after me to say, "Damn, the king used to play here." So I decided to do 2 things. Number 1, I came to the conclusion that I needed a signature move. You know, MJ's got the fadeaway, Odell's got the one-handed catches, so I was like, yeah, if I want to be remembered, I need a signature move. And the move that I came up with was beyond fucked up. So in Foursquare, the person in the 4th square, or the king, always serves the ball. And you're just supposed to like lightly touch it into another square when you serve it. But in my school, we had this rule where if the ball was going out of bounds and you touched it, it was out on you. So if the ball was like clearly going out of bounds, but you touched it before the ball hit the ground, it was out on you. And so the move I came up with, God, this is so fucked up, was when I served the ball, because I was almost always king and I almost always served the ball, instead of just lightly tapping it into another square, I would just deck these kids across the face with the ball. I'm talking, I threw it right at these fucking kids' faces, and they would just be on the ground fucking crying their eyes out after I did this. But hey, if the ball touched them and it went out and it was out on them, I didn't care as long as they got out. Now you can imagine how mad these kids would get when I did this to them. I mean, there was quite a few fights, and I remember this one time I threw the ball at this kid and he actually dodged it, and I got so fucking mad that this kid tried to move out of the way of a ball coming straight at his face. I was like, you can't do that, bro. You have to stand still and let me throw this ball straight at your face. I don't know what was wrong with me, okay? And I was actually so offended that this kid dodged like a 30-mile-per-hour ball coming straight at his face that I went up to him and I just threw him to the ground. And if you're wondering where the supervisors were and why didn't they stop the fights, they did not give a single fuck. Like, bro, I'm pretty sure these supervisors were like betting on these fights. I think throughout my entire time at elementary school, they only stopped like 2 fights, and one of them I was in. But after my signature move, the second thing I decided was that being the king of Foursquare wasn't enough for me. I wanted all of the land. I wanted to be the king of tetherball, handball, and Foursquare. So I told my best friend this at the time, and I was like, okay, you watch the Foursquare court while I go over and conquer all these other lands. Because it was probably gonna take like a week to conquer the tetherball and handball courts. Because you can't just take the throne after you beat the king or queen one time. You gotta beat them like 4 or 5 times to really send a fucking message to these people that they're not the fucking king anymore. Bitch, I'm the new king. I'm taking your fucking land. Bro, why am I getting so serious about this? This shit happened literally 15 years ago. Okay, so I first go over to the handball court and I made quick work out of their self-claimed king. I mean, the handball people were just absolutely garbage. And so I made quick work out of the handball court. I beat the king like 4 or 5 times, and they all consider me the king of handball now. And so then I go over to the tetherball court, and the queen of tetherball at that time was really happy to see me, and she was like, did you come here to watch me play tetherball, my king? No, bitch, I came here to take the throne and beat your ass. Oh god, don't clip that. At tetherball. I came here to beat her ass at tetherball. Oh god, don't clip that. Anyways, I play her in tetherball like 5 times, and she's crying, I want to be the queen. Please don't beat me. Please don't beat me. I had absolutely no mercy. I didn't give a fuck what she said. I just completely destroyed her. So I ended up being the king of every single land. But while I was on my journey, some new kid named Josh claimed he was the new king of Foursquare. And so I go back to the Foursquare courts, and he was like, I'm the new king of Foursquare. I'm the best Foursquare player this school has ever seen. And then I just threw the ball straight at his fucking face. And he just fell back on the floor and started crying, and that was it. No more new king. Get the fuck out of here. I was now officially the king of every single land. And it felt good for a little bit. But then I made a very, very stupid decision. The power went to my head. Normally, I wouldn't use my special move on any of my close friends. Like, I had some morals back then. Not much, but some morals. But then I started thinking about my best friend at the time, and I was like, I don't want people thinking that I was only the king now because I had a good friend who watched the Foursquare court while I was gone, okay? I didn't want the future 3rd graders to be like, oh, the king and his best friend used to play here. I wanted everyone to just say, oh my god, the king used to play here. I'll admit it, I was absolutely mad with power, and I will never forget what I did next. It literally haunts me to this day of how much of a monster I became. I went to serve the ball, and my friend wasn't even looking at the ball. Like, he was looking at the 2 other people in the Foursquare court. And as he was just minding his own business, looking at the 2 other guys in the Foursquare court, I just fucking chucked the ball straight at his face. I'm talking as hard as I possibly could throw it. He never saw it coming. It hit him straight in the face. His legs gave out under him. His head hit the floor. And as he hit the floor, my whole kingdom collapsed. Right then and there was a realization check for me. I felt so fucking bad for what I did. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm literally just throwing balls at kids' faces. Like, I'm not even playing Foursquare at this point. I'm literally just torturing children right now. And so the day where I was finally king of everything was the day I vowed to never play Foursquare again. And that was it for my kingdom and my Foursquare career. Never played again, and my kingdom collapsed that day. And before we wrap up the story, let me just say something. I can't do half the shit I did in elementary school anymore. Like, you know, there are people that like peaked in high school. Well, I peaked in elementary school. Well, that's the story of how my Foursquare kingdom rose and fell. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.